Yesterday, I made a video debunking some catastrophically stupid FUD. Yes, that the cars catch fire, that they're dangerous, that they're too expensive, too stupid, nobody wants them, sales are cratering, none of that is true. But in the video, I also said that the current administration is hostile to EVs, and a lot of people took issue with that, despite the fact that it's true. Let's discuss what I'm talking about. I'm Brian. Welcome to Futuraza. So if we take a look at what I'm talking about, it looks like this. These are just a small taste of the comments. Republicans are not hostile to EVs. They are opposed to the government paying buyers to offset the price of an EV. Well, okay, but oil subsidies exist. Your statement that our administration of EVs is false. Rather, they are not hostile. They're just not hostile to other vehicles. I've owned electric vehicles for years. I don't need a tax incentive to own one. Great, but people do. Price sensitivity is real. A taxpayer's dollars, I don't need, who can't afford a 40 or 50,000 vehicle shouldn't be compelled to subsidize someone who can. EVs will likely win in the long run without a taxpayer bailout. Yes, they will. The question is when. You think raising the price by $7,500 is not going to affect sales? It will. Otherwise, prices would be $7,500 higher and the sales would remain the same. That's not how it works. I'd much rather see my tax dollars used to improve infrastructure like roads and bridges. Yeah, oh, great. We all would. It's not an either or. Really, it's a neither nor. Current administration is not hostile to EVs. They want an equal playing field in the car market. The heck they do. There's so much going on that benefits internal combustion vehicles. And now there looks to be fewer and fewer things going to help electric vehicles. But that's not the point of this. The administration is not hostile. They don't want to subsidize them. And why should they? The point was to help them get off their feet. Well, they're off their feet. Why would we continue it? They're off their feet in other countries. They're barely on their feet in this country. Come on. So let's get into some of the actual policies and what we're talking about. Well, the president ran on this. He told us this was going to happen. He made this very clear from day before one. If you were hoping that he was lying, I don't know. Hope that works, but it doesn't. Unleashing American energy by the authority vested in me. America's blessed with an abundance of energy and natural resources. So we're going to drill, baby, drill. So it's going to encourage energy exploration and production. More handouts for oil and gas. I thought you wanted a level playing field. No, they don't. Establish our position as the leading producer of non-fuel minerals, including rare minerals, which will create jobs and prosperity. Great. But that hasn't happened. Protect us from collapse. Let's get to the more interesting stuff here. Day one. And I mean literally day one at the event, we're signing papers. Signs executive order revoking Biden-era EV targets. Roll back plans for 50% of cars to be electric by 2030. Well, I want people to have choice. Yeah, 50-50 is choice. He may need to rewrite the EPA rules. He said he was going to do this, and he did it. The move revokes a non-legally binding executive order that would stipulate non-legally binding, not even legally binding. The mandate didn't exist, guys. I tried to tell you. It just definitely doesn't now. Now it's not even a suggestion. To make the change stick, they need to work with the EPA to write new rules. It says that it also revokes unspent government funds for electric vehicle charging stations. Well, they were going too slow. Were they? Because it takes time to get permits, to do planning, to go out and get bids. All of that stuff takes time. Well, they were wasting the money. They spent $90 billion and only got 10 chargers. No, I don't know what the numbers were, but they were all wrong. They were all lies. The largest single company to get those dollars was Tesla. Tesla opened a bunch of chargers using that charger money. Well, they should have moved faster. Yeah, I'm sure they would have liked to. This is just hostility. This is money that's already been approved, earmarked, going out the door, and now it's canceled? Yes. And why? Because the current administration is hostile to EVs. We've also got to look at, there's a bunch of other stuff. There's a desire to end the $7,500 credit, and there's a proposal to add an additional $1,000 credit. We'll get to all that right now. Could all EV sales be hit with a $1,000 tax? Yes. Yes, they could. Well, this isn't unfair. There are bills two bills, I think. GOP senators back bills to dramatically redraw EV credit landscape, shifting those incentives in the opposite direction. Well, what we want is a Build American credit. Well, great, but that doesn't help electric vehicles. It might help Tesla, but it doesn't help anyone else. It doesn't make cars more American. It's going to, so dumb. And that $1,000 credit, I had people say, well, $1,000 is what you would pay in taxes, gas taxes, over the first 100,000 miles. Right? Only if you get like 22, 23 miles to the gallon. No, the federal gas tax is 18.3 pennies per gallon. So it's really not that much. States are already charging surcharges annually to cover our roads in our states, but you want to throw another $1,000 on top of it and get rid of the $7,500 tax credit. Very, very difficult. Why? Hostility. The last guy said we want electric cars. We don't want electric cars. It's just a flippity floppity situation. But then we get to this nonsense. The GSA is shutting down its EV chargers, calling them not mission critical. Whose mission are you talking about? Whose idea was this? This is a bad idea. Well, why is the GSA even offering these? The GSA manages all kinds of government items, things, stuff, including vehicles, vehicle pools. GSA currently operates several hundred EV chargers with approximately 8,000 plugs that are available for government-owned EVs, as well as federal employees' personally owned EVs. Some are for one, some are for the other, some are for both. But, you know, this means that they have electric cars in the fleet. There are a lot of government-owned electric cars. How will you charge them now? Surely you're not going to send an employee, pay an employee their hourly time to go sit at a public charger and pay 5 to 10 times more per kilowatt hour to juice up their car. No, the plan is to scrap the vehicles before the end of their life. This is wasteful. How can you justify this? This makes no sense. And yeah, Trump is turning off all 8,000, and they may have to literally remove them. Trump's EV charger purge could cost taxpayers $1 billion. $1 billion. Why? Why are we doing this? Is there some long-term savings I don't understand? Because the administration's hostile to EVs. That's the only answer there is. Because they're going to decommission these vehicles prematurely. That's not a good thing. And yeah, 30%. Trump's EV charger purge could cost over $1 billion. They manage 650,000 vehicles, most of them gas. And federal data suggests this could be anywhere between 2,200 and 8,000 charger ports at more than 650 locations. So after spending $300 million to install the chargers, they're going to spend between $50 and $100 million to remove them. Just to retire the stations is going to cost $50 million to $100 million because he wants them not decommissioned, but removed. So the next guy can't just turn them back on again. They would have to spend the money again to put them in. If that's not hostility, my friend, my brother, my ally in this war, what is it? What is it? Then you've got interfering with states' rights, the waiver allowing California gas car ban by 2035 poised for reversal. You see, California has always had an opportunity to do things its own way. California has unique topography that traps in pollution. The mountain range loves to hold all the noxious fumes, all of the vehicle exhaust, all of the smog, not letting it escape the basin. It can't get over the mountains. It makes the air really bad. And that's lucky for the rest of the country, because if that air could have escaped, it would have just meant pollution elsewhere in the country instead, and California could just keep going on willy-nilly. No, California had to control their own environment. They had to control their own air, their own emissions, their own pollution. And who created the EPA? Why, none other than leftist, wacko, pinko, commie job, Richard Nixon. And who got California the waivers? I'm pretty sure that was Ronald Reagan. Because Ronald Reagan was a conservative, yes, but he understood that you have to be able to breathe. And state rights say sometimes you get to do things your own way. California was granted a waiver. Other states said, we want a waiver too. And the government said, no. Not infinite sets of rules, but 2 is okay. You can go the federal route or you can go the California route, but you can't go the Maryland route or the Wyoming route. There's not going to be infinite, just the 2. He wants to end that. Why would Trump want to interfere with states' rights? I mean, you tell me, but it sure looks like hostility toward EVs. After a month of Trump's pro-oil and gas moves, the Dems are targeting his energy emergency. He's declared calls on federal government to make it easier for companies to build oil and gas projects, in part by weakening environmental reviews with the goal of lowering prices and selling to international markets. Now, I thought you just said he wants it to be on an even playing field, but he's trying to reduce the cost of the energy that goes into your internal combustion car, but not address the cost of the power going into your home to keep it warm or your electric car to keep it on the road. That is picking a side. We're not supposed to pick winners and losers, right? But we do. We do. The rest of the world has picked winners and losers as well. Well, China subsidizes their companies. So do we. You ever heard of the auto bailouts? It is a thing that happens. Countries try to protect their national interests and their biggest producers of things like automobiles and aircraft and other vital things. So yeah, drill, baby, drill, drill indeed. It's all happening, and it's all happening right under our noses. So again, the sky is not green. The earth is not flat. This president is hostile to EVs. If you like what he's doing on the whole, that's great. You can feel that way. You can say, look, I like A, B, and C so much that I don't care about D, but you don't get to tell me that D is not wagging in my face. Don't care for it. I prefer a data-driven approach. Data-driven is where I am. This is data. All of these links are in the show notes, in the description, because I get it. The video I was responding to was a realtor who loves to talk about things about which he has no earthly idea. How could he? He's a full-time realtor. That is his area of expertise. Now imagine if a dentist started making videos talking about how realtors really work. I imagine that realtor would be a little miffed, a little put off. I think he'd be upset, and rightly so. Maybe the dentist makes a few good points. Maybe the dentist sounds like he makes a few good points, but he's wrong, and he can't be considered an authority because it's not what he does for a living. This is what I do for a living, and we keep our facts fact-based. Thank you to all of you who have chosen to subscribe, by the way. It's pretty awesome. The channel is growing nicely. I've even got some new Patreon supporters who, and on Patreon, on X, on YouTube, premium members. I've got a new series going where I cover some daily news that doesn't fit in any of my stories. I don't just cover everything. I collect things into a thesis. I do additional research. That's how I make a video. And then I give you some fun stuff, some updates that are off channel, and I do my daily puzzles so you can see the way my mind actually works. Everybody else, like, subscribe, do what you do, stay tuned, stay juicy, and I cannot wait to hear from you clever robots on the next one.